Good evening, people. How are you? Thanks for being here. We are obviously here for our Sunday night army list show. Good evening, good evening. We got three lists to look at tonight. They are from Brad, they are from Grimm's Guardsman, and they are from Lucky Jim 37. So that is what we've got tonight. I know what we've got up next week, and next week it is Dutster. I see you in the chat tonight, Dutster. So you're up next week along with William Probert, and I think it's Lodescent. I'm not entirely sure how you say that, so I think it's Lodescent. We do three lists every week at the moment, always tuning in about 9:30 on a Sunday night. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you guys hanging out as always. We catch up in the chat. Camille's here, Rezio, Steel Rain, Balanced Hydra. Good evening, everybody. Hope you are well. Jeffrey, only got 15 more minutes of lunch break. I guess you're going to catch it on the replay, Jeffrey. No worries, though. So, yeah, Army List Show every Sunday. Thank you for being here again. And as always, if you've got any questions, Blood Angels related, intro music is a bit loud compared to your voice. Oh, possibly. I'll turn it down for next time. Commander, I'm already at work. I want to include 2 Arbor Cherubs because it made sense. Okay. Blood Angels Commander model with 2 Ardent Cherubs. It's kind of yellow. Sorry, yeah, I have a yellow tint on the screen. Let me turn it off. And what I'll do is I'll put on my yellow glasses. I have a problem with blue light, so yeah, there's a program you can make that makes the screen go yellow. Wow, the screen looks really white after you change it off the yellow. Cool. Okay. So, first list this week is from one of the members, and it's Brad. And I sound tired. Maybe a little bit tired. 2 kids will do that to you, I guess. It's been a tough day. The little baby, every single time I hold him, he just wants to cry, and that can get a bit frustrating. But no, I'm good. Thanks for asking, though. Alright, I just need to move one thing so that it's not obscured behind my camera and I can see the chat. Okay. Cool. Wildling, good evening. How are you doing? Okay, so Brad had a new list. Hopefully legal, but did his best. And congrats on the new child. Thank you so much, Brad. Okay, let's have a look. We're looking at 199 points. Is Blood Angels. Looking for if it says battalion, but it doesn't say. I guess it's made. Let's assume it's a battalion for now, and we'll come back to it. Maybe you just didn't add that it was a battalion. Let's see. Alright, so we start with Commander Dante. We have the Primaris Chaplain on the bike, who is the Artisan of War, has Mantra of Strength, has Gift of Foresight, has Adamantium Mantle, is the Master of Sanctity, and has the Armor Indomitus. Okay, so, we keep seeing this character. This character went up 10 points, didn't he? So he's 125 now. I guess you have to make him the Master of Sanctity. He's 150. I'm just going to chuck in the points in the lines, because I guess for whatever reason, Battlescribe didn't put the points in. But I like the character in general. Artisan of War to give him the 5-up Shrug, Armor Indomitus to give him 8 wounds and a 2-up save with a 3-up in Van. I mean, I guess at 150 points, he's very similar to your Chapter Master on a bike. I think he's still good. I still think he's competitive and he's good at 150 points. What's his... And he's using Canticle of Hate to give him +2 to his charge range. So it's kind of sad that doesn't stack with the Blood Angels +1, but overall it's a good character. I don't think anyone would disagree that the Primaris Chaplain on a bike is a bad character. And Dante to bring some rerolls to the table as well, and potentially sacrifice himself to save some units as well, can definitely work as well. Cool. Okay, what's up, Lord Lusagic? Good evening, 2 Scoops. Ben McDonald have a rough game against Grey Knights today. I was hoping for some inspiration with these lists. You know what, Ben? I lost at the top table of a GT in November to Grey Knights, and if I'd won that game, I would have won the GT. So Grey Knights can be a difficult cookie to crack. What got you? Is it just like massive mortal wounds, or like struggling to take out the Nemesis Dread Knights, or just, what hit you? Good evening, DTM. Okay, and then troop-wise, we've got Incursors, and it's a 5-man squad. We have Intercessors with auto-bolt rifles, and it's a 5-man squad. The Sergeant obviously gets to take that chainsword. Then another squad of Intercessors with auto-bolt rifles. And you know what? I did math hammer on these auto-bolt rifle Intercessors not too long ago and compared them to the Incursors. I personally just think that you do a tiny bit more damage with these auto-bolt rifle Intercessors than you do from the Incursors. And yeah, they are 5 points cheaper, so that's nice. But the Incursors do so much more work in close combat. The additional AP that we get in close combat makes a big difference if you get into the late game. And the forward deploy in the Cursors means that they can be a threat early in the game as well. I have about 30 Intercessors, and you will pretty much... I can't remember the last time I fielded them, honestly. And I got the Dark Imperium when they came out. I was excited. I painted up a shitload of them. And I just never field them. I honestly think if you can field Incursors, and I'd even say Assault Intercessors are better than Intercessors as well. Unless you're trying to hold like a backfield objective and your Intercessors are just going to sit there for the entire game and cover. But at that point, you probably don't want to be taking the auto-bolt rifles. So I don't rate Intercessors as auto-bolt rifles as high as some other people rate them, I guess. If you really want to see someone take a good Blood Angels list v New Tau... Sorry, what's I'm playing New Tau tomorrow. I can share Andrew's list. I already shared it in the members room, Lord Lethargic, so you can see it. But I'll share the Tau list that I'm playing tomorrow at the end of the stream. And, I'll do my best to beat it, but we'll see how it goes. I reckon I could proxy a Captain in Terminator armor. A Praetor? Yeah, of course you can. I think if he's wearing Terminator armor, even if it's a Praetor or Terminator, it would be fine. That would be no problem. We then have an Apothecary. So, an Apothecary with the Teeth of Terra, which seems like a strange choice. He's the Selfless Healer. Because, I guess, being a... How many points does an Apothecary with the Selfless Healer cost? Because the Chief Apothecary upgrade is like 35 points? I actually don't know. Let me check that. So it's just an Apothecary. We don't often see that because the Apothecary takes an elite slot. So like normally Blood Angels lists really need elite slots. So Apothecary is 75 points. A Sanguinary Priest is like 90, I want to say. Yeah, so... And what's the difference? I mean, the difference is you can just put your units in Assault Doctrine earlier in the game. Oh, the Sanguinary Priest has a better weapon skill, but I mean, that's not... And better leadership, but both those things don't really make much difference. Okay, it's an Apothecary. Fair enough. We then have Bladeguard Veterans, and it's a 5-man with the Sergeant with the Volkite pistol. We then have a Relic Contemptor with 2 twin Volkite Coverings, and we've covered these twin Volkite Coverings a lot recently. Harry says, I've just started Blood Angels and I'm looking to see what direction to take them. Good evening, Harry. Well, thanks for being here. I mean, if you are interested in playing competitive, I actually have a playlist on my channel that is like all the competitive lists that have done well at tournaments this year. But yeah, you should totally join our Discord. Consider subscribing to the channel. We basically just do shitloads of Blood Angels content on this channel. That's what we're all about here. So, yeah, you've come to the right place. Okay. We've talked a lot about the Relic Contemptor, especially with a twin Volkite cover, and I think that's the wrong choice now. I think if you want to run a Relic Contemptor now, you want to be running it with 1 twin Volkite covering and 1 Chain Fist, which I have right here to prove to you guys that I am going to make one with a Chain Fist. I think the Chain Fist is super good in close combat, and I mean, Blood Angels typically do most of their damage in close combat. I think before they put the points cost up on the coverings, I think you were fine to run it as a fire support platform, but maybe not so much now. Yeah, we're gonna... Andrew's bringing 3 Storm Surges tomorrow. Is that what they're called? I posted it in Discord. So it's gonna... Is the Storm Surge the name of the big Tau unit that's like the super heavy that's 330 points? Yeah, The Storm Surge. Yeah, Andrew's bringing 3 of them, so God knows what I'm in for tomorrow. And I think the Storm... I haven't seen the new profile for the Storm Surge, but I think it's going to be ridiculous. If he can see my army, I'm just going to get blown off the table. We then have Sanguinary Guard. It's 2, 4... It's... Sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This list isn't formatted as well as some of the other lists that we get in. I guess for whatever reason, it's a bit random. It's random, it doesn't have the points cost on it as well. So it's 5 Sanguinary Guard. Yeah, 5 with... How can it be 5 when I'm seeing 5 axes here? Oh, because there's a space here? Okay, sorry. So it's 6 Sanguinary Guard, Infernal Pistols, and all axes. And then another 6 Sanguinary Guard, Infernal Pistols, and all axes. Okay, 6 is like the bare minimum for Sanguinary Guard. I really like them in squads of 7 to 9. I think 6 can bounce off enemies. I've had it happen to me in games where you charge in with 6 and you don't kill enough stuff. So I think 7 to 9 is the ideal squad, but I mean 6 is okay. We then have a Vanguard Veterans, and it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 with Lightning Claws and Storm Shields, and I'd probably recommend to try and get a couple of hammers in here. I think hammers are very, very useful. 3, sweet Jesus. Yeah, I mean, Storm Surge are big. How does he even own 3 Storm Surges? You've seen what Andrew owns, right? Every time a new army comes out, I mean, like, I guess this is Warhammer is his hobby, and Andrew is a filthy meta chaser, so he has every army, and just kill the 3 models and deprive him of half his points. Yeah, if I can make the charges on the 3 models, yeah, I can deprive him of half his points. We then have the Whirlwind, and we have a Termite pattern drill here, which is interesting. He said, Blade Guard and the Terrax with Apothecary, apologise if this list is totally fucked. I mean, it's not totally fucked, but I want to say Terrax cannot transport Primaris models. I'm just going to check that. I don't own a Terrax. I do think it's a cool model, but I don't think it can be transport Primaris. This isn't the right data sheet. I can get it from the Blood Angels page. Data sheets. Would it be dedicated transport? Yeah, Terrax drill. It can take just infantry. It cannot take jump pack, Terminators, Centurions. Oh, but just infantry. Interesting. So can the Terrax take Primaris models? That's weird wording, because normally... That is weird wording. Is it? Or am I just... Am I out of the loop tonight? Yeah, because it normally says cannot transport Primaris. Oh, the Terrax does say, yeah, it cannot transport Primaris. Sorry, I'm missing that. So yeah, the Terrax cannot transport Primaris. I mean, I like the Terrax in general, but I guess because it can't transport Primaris, you have a problem. How do charges work again? Roll inches? Yeah, I mean, like... I guess if you don't know how charges work, I guess you probably need to just read. They'll be in the core rules. Oh, you're a complete noob. Okay. Yeah, however many inches you're away, you need to end within 1 inch. So if you were 8 inches away exactly, you would need to roll a 7 on the charge. And when you arrive from Deep Strike, you always have to be 9 inches away from the enemy. So typically what that means is you need to roll 9 on 2d6. Blood Angels get +1 to all their charges, so if you arrive from Deep Strike, you need 8 on 2d6 to make a charge. You can spend 1 CP to command reroll it. Okay, there's a lot going on in the chat right now, so if anyone's got a question that they really want answered, just ask it again, because I'm struggling to keep up a little bit. Alright, so Commander Dante, Primaris Chaplain on a bike. Oh, and if my daughter wakes up at any point in the stream, I'm going to have to run AFK for like 2 minutes and move her from her bedroom to my wife's bedroom, so just be aware of that. Commander Dante, Chaplain on a bike, Incursors, 2 squads of Intercessors, the Apothecary with the Blade Guard Veterans. I mean, I like the Apothecary and the Blade Guard Veterans as a choice, but I mean, the only way you could transport them would be to upgrade him to like a Primaris Apothecary and take an Impulsor, and I really don't like the Impulsor. The Whirlwind is a good backfield unit. The 2 Sanguinary Guard squads could definitely be used with 1 more model in them. The Lightning Claw Vanguard Veterans could use a Thunderhammer or 2. The Relic Contemptor could use some sort of melee weapon. I think that is a lot better. And yeah, I feel like Brad is sort of like, I don't think he's a super experienced player, right? Like, I think this is the Bike Chaplain is a very good character for all Marine chapters. Says DTM, answers straight away for me. Thanks, DTM. Yeah, so the rule that I sort of subscribe to is, if you're going to take dreadnoughts, one dreadnought never usually cuts it. If you're just going to have one dreadnought, all the enemies are going to put all their firepower into that one dreadnought. So I think dreadnoughts are kind of a rule of two thing. If you want to make dreadnoughts work in your list, you need two of them. I also think dreadnoughts with melee weapons are a lot more suited to Blood Angels, and they also are much more effective than gun platform dreadnoughts for us. So, like, I've run a Leviathan a bunch of times, and Leviathans are notoriously slow, but if you run it with like a siege drill, then you can end up doing a ton of work. I think it was last weekend, or last Monday night, because we always have a live game on Monday night on the channel. My Leviathan did 18 damage to Knight in a single round of combat. So, that's way more than it would ever be able to do shooting, right? And, yeah. So the troop choices are okay. It would be better if there was more Phobos in here, probably more Incursors. The Elite and the Blade Guards, the pot makes sense, but they kind of get muddled by the fact that you can't actually fit them into the Terrax. If you're going to take the Terrax Assault Drill, you need like Company Veterans, and Company Veterans are okay. Like, I think Company Veterans with Lightning Claws and maybe like a couple of Thunderhammers in a Terrax is okay, or even a Death Company in a Terrax is okay as well. A Death Company in Terrax with their points drop would actually be pretty good, because you'd save even more points on not having to buy jump packs for them. He did say he's new in the intro to the list. Oh, right, good. Thank you, Pedroid. Thanks for pointing that out. Okay, so yeah. I think if this was my list, I guess you got some choices here. I mean, it's not a bad list. I would say, like, I'll score it at the end, but I'd say, like, this list is like a 7 out of 10, right? Like, it's not bad if you were trying to get into highly competitive. If you wanted to get more competitive on this list, I think what you have to do is you have to sacrifice something. And I think what you're talking about is you either sacrifice the Dreadnought and go much more melee focused, where you've also got a problem with your Terrax not working with this list. So you sacrifice the Terrax, you maybe make this a 10-man squad of Lightning Claws, so you can combat squad it, you make both these Sanguinary Guard squads 7, and you kind of accept that one Dreadnought on its own is going to kind of be a bullet magnet and not do that much. Or you go the other way, where you drop like the Transport, and you run 2 Dreadnoughts, and you get some melee weapons on those Dreadnoughts. And if you can, I really think it would be better if the Apothecary was a Sanguinary Priest, right? Because the advantage of the Priest is in turn 1 and 2, you could put your units into Assault Doctor, and especially if you've got like 3 units of jump units, if you manage to put a single one of them into Assault Doctor, and that's +1 attack off every model, +1 AP on every model, so your axes become -3, your Lightning Claws become -3, and they all get extra hits, like that alone can be well worth the 15 points. If you have to lose something somewhere else, that might be okay to do that. And I think you're starting this list with about 8 CP, because it cost you like 4 for the... Oh, and then Dante. Oh, but who's your Warlord? No, okay, Dante's not the Warlord. So it is 8 CP you're starting with. So overall, I guess as a new player list, this is kind of okay. But I guess there's the synergy problem with the Transport. You either need to lean heavier into the Dreadnoughts or not at all, in my opinion. I've had more success leaning on 2 Dreadnoughts this edition than I've had personally leaning on all melee. And I've said a couple of times, and I try and say this with no ego, right? Like, if you think you are a better Blood Angels player than me, then by all means go full melee. If you don't think you're as good as I am, I recommend going 2 Dreadnoughts and a bunch of melee, right? You still want the melee, but I think the point of having the 2 Dreadnoughts means that in the early game, if you're struggling, you at least have like, you know, like if you run Redemptors, you've got those plasma cannons with 3 damage. I've had turns where a single Redemptor has blown up a Rhino that was full of Repentia, probably won me the game, because if not, the Rhino and the Repentia were like in my face in the next turn. I've had other games where like my Dreadnoughts have put firepower into key units like Drukhari Raiders, and again, probably won the game just opening up the Raiders and stopping them, again, get in my face and sort of push their advantage. So I think if you want to play the all melee Blood Angels list, you need to be really shit hot at playing Blood Angels. And I think I've struggled with the all melee list in 9th edition. I'm not going to lie. So, yeah, that's my opinion on that. Alright, let's think about scoring this. And what are the questions? How's Mephiston, Primaris, Librarian Dread for a Psyker? I like them in the fluff, but do they have good things about them? Mephiston, Librarian Dread are tough to run effectively at the moment. I mean, they're not totally out. Like, you can run them, but I think they are just tough to run because they're in a place where, how do you put this? Their powers aren't that good. They don't kill so much stuff in melee, and then they can end up left quite exposed. So I haven't been running Mephiston. I really want to run Mephiston now. He's down 15 points. Because I didn't think he was bad before 155 points. I didn't think he was great, but I didn't think he was bad. So maybe Mephiston is a little bit more attractive now, but I'm still not 100% sure on that. Okay, let me think about scoring Brad's list. And as a new player, I don't think it's bad at all, Brad. I think you've done a pretty good job here. So you got 3 units that have OBSEC and 1 is Phobos. I would like to see more Phobos units. That could push your OBSEC up a little bit more. And also, in the new Chapter Approved 2022, having units that can move around the battlefield really effectively is going to help you. And that's what that's what the Phobos troops give you. The Phobos troops give you so much mobility, and it's cheap as well on a 1 CP. So I think if you have the ability to buy another box of Phobos units, please do it. DTM says, I rang a single dread about 2 weeks back when I was trying out Blood Angels for fun, and I think it's more of an urban legend that you always need to bring at least 2. Okay, well, maybe it's not an urban legend, DTM. Whenever I bring a single dreadnought, it gets killed and that's it. So it's like, if you have 2 of them, you typically, at least one of them survives, I guess. I guess it depends on what you're up against. In the last 2 times I've played Andrew, last 2 weeks in a row, both games, he's gone first and he's killed my Relic Contemptor in his turn 1, and both times I use CP rerolls on the armor save. So I guess if you just run 1 dreadnought, you risk the fact that you could just lose that dreadnought and never fire. I guess that's the thing. Do you sacrifice your priest for a Tech Marine when running 2 Redemptors? I personally have been running the Tech Marine over the Sangori Priest since August. I miss the Sangori Priest. He is very expensive, but I do miss him. But I've been fairly pleased with my tournament placings with the Tech Marine in the list. I guess if your Tech Marine can keep your 2 Dreadnoughts healthy for the entire game, and your Dreadnoughts have a risk of taking over the end game, and that's kind of... Yeah, I know some people like to run the Tech Marine and the Sangori Priest. I've never actually done that myself. I felt like that was too much on the healing side of stuff, but I mean, in 9th edition, there's definitely something to be said about, like, it's an edition where you get rewarded for being resilient, holding objectives, doing secondaries, being in board quarters, etc., etc., etc. So Sangori Priest and Tech Marine, I know some people in the Discord definitely run it and think it is good. Okay, Anti-Horde Infantry, we got our 1 Relic Contemptor, we got our Whirlwind, we do have a bunch of Bolters coming out from the Sangori Guard, and I guess we've got our Volkites sort of on the transport, so I think it's about 7.5. It's not going to be great against Horde enemies. 3 damage weapons in this list, so we've got 2, I guess, on the Terrax, we've got 2 Infernal Pistols here, we've got Commander Dante and the Chaplain, so 6 3 damage weapons. So overall that's kind of low, I think. And the list that I just ran this week had 17 3 damage more weapons in its list. And I think that's me pushing really hard to counter -1 damage stuff that's all kicking around now. But 6 months ago I would have said you need 10 3 damage or more weapons in your list. I think now probably you don't need to have 15, but I think 15 is going to really help you with the amount of minus... Every new army, -1 damage, -1 strength, -1... half damage on some of these new Aldari units that are coming out. So the more 3 damage or more weapons you have, it's important, in my opinion. Dreads are definitely one of those units where the sum of the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. I think I sort of agree with that. I think do you know what? One GT I ran 2 dreadnoughts, and the other one I ran 3. I did better in the list in the GT that I ran 3, but I think my list was stronger with 2. I mean, it would have just been up against who I was facing and situational and stuff like that, right? But I think 3. I think 3 dreadnoughts is too much if you try and include a whirlwind as well, which I do. I mean, 3 dreadnoughts benefit a lot from the Tech Marine, but yeah, I think 2 dreadnoughts is probably the... I think 2 dreadnoughts and a Tech Marine get a lot of value. Damage 1 weapons are the only ones which don't get nerfed. Yeah, damage 1 weapons don't get nerfed. You're right, Pedroig. If you think about it, like if you think about a Sanguinary Guard sword, which is 2 damage to 1, it basically takes a 50% nerf. Whereas if you think about a Thunderhammer, which is 3 damage to 2, it just takes a 33% nerf, right? So I think Thunderhammers, more Thunderhammers is probably... I'm leaning away from 2 squads of Sanguinary Guard myself, because I'm going to run a big squad of Vanguard veterans with hammers, so that I have like a lot. Like I said, last week I had 17 3 damage or more weapons on my list. And I did table Andrew's Knights on turn 4 last week, so obviously that all those extra damage helped. Knights aren't -1 damage though, so I guess that's kind of a null point in a way. Mobility. Well, mobility in this list is pretty good. The Blade Guard, you thought they were going to be in a transport, they're not. I would much prefer more Phobos units, so I'm going to say like a 7.5. And then specialization, I look at, he's got the ability to fight last, he doesn't have any denies, he has an okay number of units for actions, but ideally there would be more Phobos units. We do not have enough 3 damage weapons, we do have enough CP, and I guess we have some protection against mortal wounds with the Apothecary, but not that much, because he's not going to keep up with all of our jump pack units. So I think specialization is about a 7 here. And John, are you running Null Zone this week? So yeah, I was thinking about continuing to run Null Zone, Rezio. But part of me also, and don't hate me, because I haven't run Mephiston since he went down to 140 points. I was unsure if I could beat the Tau anyway, and I figure that if I try and get my Librarian in for range of Null Zone, he's just going to die, right? He's 100% going to die if I try and Null Zone anything. If I might be able to get the Null Zone off, sure, but then he's just going to be dead. So part of me was thinking I might just run Mephiston for like a support Mephiston with like Unleash Rage, so I can get like exploding 6s on my Vanguard veterans, maybe take like Blood Boil so I can shoot out some mortal wounds, and Wings of Sanguinius so that I can join the fight later in the game. I'm unsure though. I mean, I know the value of Null Zone, but at the same time, I kind of just want to, like, if Tau are going to be that good, then like, and like I'm expected to just lose against the Tau, then the Librarian won't die if elite unit is around him. If any unit is left where you can see them, I'm pretty sure everything will die, right? I did check some stuff in the member channel earlier today, but maybe I need to check since then, Camille. Okay, so Brad's list is about 38.5. For a new player, it's not bad. Couple of synergies to improve. But yeah, I think the main thing is deciding if you're going to lean into double dreadnoughts, Brad, or if you're going to lean into all much more melee. And I guess if you do lean into that much more melee, then you have the interesting question that I have at the moment where, like, Are Blade Guard veterans the best option? Because Blade Guard veterans obviously have to run across the battlefield, whereas like you could take Firstborn Terminators. They are pretty much the same coins cost, maybe a tiny bit higher, but they can arrive from Deep Strike right in the middle of the board if that's something that you want to be doing, like for Oath of Moment. Good evening, just came home after playing a game of Custodes vs Death Guard, and oh boy, are the Custodes strong right now. Tabled the Death Guard and lost only 2 models. Wow. Yeah, I mean, I played into Custodes recently, same, and my whole army bounced off like I deep striked my entire army in turn 2 against like a squad of 5 bikers and killed like 3 of them. It was kind of horrific. Okay. Let's talk about Grimm's Guardsman's list next. And Grimm is also a member, and new members are super appreciated. Thank you. Well, I mean, regardless, if you want to tune in tomorrow night, we're going to have Blood Angels versus Tau Empire. The Tau player is bringing 3 Storm Strikes, so that will be fun. Storm Sturges, sorry. Storm Strikes, I don't know. And I haven't decided what I'm bringing, but it's going to be pretty close to what it's going to be pretty close. Basically, I'm just going to try and keep iterating on the list that I used last week. It's kind of my tournament list. It's sort of an evolution of my last 2 tournaments together, so it's going to be something similar. Alright, so Grimm says this is his first battle submission. Cool, Grimm, thank you for the list. And it's for GT in April, and it's more of a fast and fun list, to be honest. Alright, so this one is a battalion with 7 CP, and it's Flesh Tearers. Oh, interesting. Okay, cool. So I expect to see a drop pod of some sort if it's Flesh Tearers. We are going to run 2 Relics of the Chapter. We're going to run the Company Champion with the Blade of Triumph. That is your... I think it's Strength 7, -3, 3 damage blade. So it's pretty legit. He is also going to have a Combat Shield. He's going to have Martial Exemplar, which I believe means everybody around him rerolls their charges. I want to just check that. I'm like 90% sure it is. Or maybe it's core units only. Core and characters within 6 reroll their charges. Okay, so we've got, I imagine this guy's going to be in a drop pod. We also have company veterans coming with a bunch of power axes and storm shields. Power axes are interesting. We don't see power axes very often, period. Like, I actually need to have a look at company veterans because we never see power axes. Power axes are like +2 strength, -2 AP or something. Power axe. Melee weapons. +2 strength, -2 AP. Just 1 damage though, and you're paying 3 points per model for this. I almost think you'd be better off with lightning claws. Because you get an additional attack because you've got the lightning claw. And if you think about it, do Flesh Tearers get +1 to wound on their charge? I need to pull out my codex 1 second. Flesh Tearers get different maybe that's why it's axes. Flesh Tearers get... Oh, they still get +1 to wound when they were charged, or heroic intervene. Yeah, so I think the lightning claws are the better choice, because the lightning claws, if you think about attacking like a strength 4 model with that squad, your lightning claw is going to be +1 to wound, so you're going to wound on 3s, for example, and then you get to reroll all your hits and you get an additional wound, or an additional attack. Whereas the power axes, you're just going to wound on 3s, same AP, no additional hit, no rerolls. So power axes for 3 points. I mean, if you've got the models and that's what you're using, Grimm, that's what you're using. But if you're building more Vanguard veterans, I think lightning claws are going to be a better choice here. How does one get access or find the checklist? The checklist that I use to score stuff, or what? What do you think about 2 shooting Leviathan Dreads? I like Leviathan Dreads, but I think the Siege Drill is probably the strongest weapon on them, Stuart, so I would prefer to have them with the Siege Drill. Does a Death Company Dread have a spot in 9th now? Would like to use mine again, but only ever see Redemptors and Forward Roll Dreads. I think if you wanted to use it, Lionheart, you would need to reserve it. And it was better in the previous editions because you used to be able to take the Magna Grapple and get +2 to the charge with a +1 from the Red Thirst. You actually only needed to roll a 5 on 2d6 to make a charge with a Death Company Dread. But yeah, I guess that doesn't exist anymore. So I think if you want to use a Death Company Dreadnought, you'd probably want to reserve it. And it's okay. I think they're okay right now. I don't think they're great. I guess that's why everybody runs Redemptors and that sort of thing. Do you think a pure Firstborn, Veteran, and Terminator list, transport included, is viable? I think Firstborn are okay. The problem is that their troop choices are weaker. The Phobos troop choices that you get from Primaris are just way stronger than Tactical Marines. So you could run most Firstborn Witchcraft, but like I think you're making it harder to win games if you're not including Phobos. Like, quite a lot harder, because Phobos units can just score points like crazy. The checklist that I'm using is very much just something that I use on stream every week. Christopher, if you want to submit a list, though, you can submit a list, or you can tune into the stream. The things that I tend to look at for scoring, are how well can list hold objectives, how well does it shoot out enemy infantry, or hordes, I guess, how does it kill big vehicles, how mobile is it, and then, like, can it make the enemy fight last? Does it have any denies? Does it have enough units to perform actions? Does it have enough 3 damage weapons because of all the -1 damage running around? Does it start with enough CP? And then has it got any protection against mortal wounds? Because all these things are just things that I've come up with to try and balance the lists. You always make that argument that tacticals are I always make the argument that tacticals are at least equal to intercessors in competitiveness, but incursors are definitely way better. Yeah, I guess you could say that. Tacticals are probably similar to intercessors, but we always talk about mobility is key, and being mobile is the reason you win games in 9th edition, and being mobile as a Blood Angel is one of the most important things. So you need the most mobile troop choices, and that is Phobos. Don't get me wrong, like I'm in the middle of painting 3 squads of incursors, so I know the pain of having to paint 15 more troops when I already have shitloads of tacticals and incursors and all these other things, but that's the way it goes. Good evening, Highland Phoenix. Guys, if you are enjoying tonight's stream, it would be appreciated if you hit the like button just so this video can share to more people. Okay, let's have a look at the HQ. We've got a captain running an Infernal Pistol, a Jump Pack, and a Teeth of Terra, so a very cheap sort of 2 damage blender captain. We have Gabriel Seth, who is the Merciless Butcher. He has his Blood Reaver, and he is obviously the Warlord. And then a Sanguinary Priest, who is the Selfless Healer, and he's honoured by the Arx Angelicum, and he's got a Jump Pack as well. Okay. Troop-wise, we've got Assault Intercessors, Incursors, and this is what I run in all my lists at the moment. I would probably run 3 squads of Incursors, but I just don't have the points, I guess. We then have 2 Ironclad Dreadnoughts with the Chain Fist, the Assault Launchers, Melt-A-Gun, Combat Weapon, and Heavy Flamer. The first one has the Seismic Hammer, and I think you're better off just taking the Chain Fist. The Seismic Hammer has -1 to hit, but it's like flat 5 damage, whereas the Chain Fist is like 2d3, but no -1 to hit. So I think when I mathed it out, because I did the math on the Ironclad, because I was going to buy an Ironclad at some point, I probably still will. The Chain Fist is 2d3, so it averages 4. At -4, Vehicles does a 6, whereas the Seismic Hammer just always does 5. Seismic Hammer is -1 to hit, but you've got the Wrecker rule. Each time this model makes a melee attack, if it's equipped with an Ironclad combat weapon, reroll hits of 1. So it's like hitting on 3s, rerolling 1 with the Chain Fist, or hitting on 4s, rerolling 1s with the Seismic Hammer. So basically you're hitting like a good 20% more with a Chain Fist. So the fact that average is 1 damage less doesn't matter, because you're hitting like 20% more. And if you are ever fighting against vehicles, it's even better. So, the Seismic Hammer is not bad. Like, it's minor, but I definitely did a video on this that proved that the Chain Fist is the best choice. So I understand why some people like the flat 5 damage of the hammer. That is pretty fun when you make the enemy fail some saves against that, right? We then have 2 5-man squads of Sanguinary Guard, 1 all with axes, 1 all with swords, and an Infernal Pistol. And I always recommend to not do this. I have a bunch with, I probably have 7 Sanguinary Guard with swords, 7 with axes, but all my squads are like a 50-50 mix. Because you never really know when you deploy them, when you redeploy them, when you advance, whatever, it's very hard to be like, this squad of swords is going to be better against this one enemy model. My brain doesn't work like that. Like at the start of the game, you're not trying to, when you're deploying and stuff, especially when you're deploying Sangre Guard, you're trying to deploy them to get them across the board and get into combat. And who knows how the enemy's going to redeploy or move across the map. I think it's better to mix the squads. Because then usually that means... And also, another thing is, like, if I know I'm really weak against swords, for example, then the enemy is just like, well, I'll just keep shooting the squad that's got the swords. Whereas if you've got them mixed, then I think it's harder for the enemy to take them out, and also it means later in the game you don't get a situation where you're like, fuck, I really wish I had some axes on this side of the board, because swords are useless to me, for example. So I just mix my squads. I think it's better. It's, you know, I just think it's better to mix them. He can't deny psychic powers, so Null Zone would be the win. Are Redemptor Dreadnoughts no longer good? I've been gone for a long time. Redemptor Dreadnoughts are fine. They went up 10 points. I'm probably going to run 2 this week in my list against the Tau. I don't think they needed to necessarily go up 10 points, but I think they're fine. Honestly, I don't have any problem fielding Redemptor Dreadnoughts. It kind of sucks that they don't have an invulnerable save, but they've always been like that, you know? There is ways to get them invulnerable saves and stuff like that as well. Alright, we have an assault squad of Terminators, and it's all Thunderhammers here, with the Teleport Homer, and I kind of like that, but I do think it's fine to include a couple of Lightning Claw guys in the squad if you want to keep their points cost a little bit more sane. Probably aim for like 200, and I think having a couple of Lightning Claws, again, if you're all Thunderhammers and you end up in combat with like crap units, there's a lot of wasted damage, whereas if you got like 2 guys with Lightning Claws Terminators get a lot of attacks, you know, because it's like 2 attacks, plus 2 more from the Lightning Claws, plus another one from charging, plus potentially another one from Savage Echoes. So you can get 6 attacks, whereas like your Thunderhammers only get 4, so if you ever come into 1 damage enemies, Lightning Claws are going to excel, so I like to mix and match in here as well. I also think 5-man squads of Sangre Guard are kind of small, but it looks like most of your squads are small in this list. We then have 5 Lightning Claw, Storm Shield, Vanguard Veterans with a Sergeant with Infernal Pistol and Thunderhammer, which is nice. And then we've got the Drop Pod, which I guess will contain Seth, the Company Veterans probably, and the Company Champions. So you'll have like a good number of models piling out the Drop Pod. I do actually guess that in some ways Flesh Tearers just got buffed. If you just want to take Death Company models with chainswords, no jump packs obviously, just Death Company with chainswords or something inside Drop Pod, then that's actually quite good now. Lightning Claw Terminators get all the attacks. Yeah, they certainly do. And I mean, they're still good, you know, like if you have them in cover, they're on a 1-up save, they've got a 5-up invuln, they've got 3 wounds, they're not easy for the opponent to shift. I like having Lightning Claw Terminators, and sometimes if your Terminator squad's taking like a lot of fire, sometimes it's nice to kill like a cheaper model, and I guess like a Terminator with a Thunderhammer and Storm Shield's like 43 points, and a Lightning Claw Terminator's 33 points, so if you're going to get hit with like a las cannon or something, sometimes it's nice to be like, fuck it, we'll just kill a Lightning Claw one, because like I'd rather not lose a 43 point model. Alright, so he said, okay, so this is a rule of cool with a lot of ouch. I'm not entirely sure how competitive it is, but I definitely think it's okay. This will be a tournament in April. Okay, so yeah, the drop pod idea is pretty nice. The Captain, the Sanguinary Priest, the jump units is all pretty nice. The Terminators with Thunderhammers is good as well. The Dreadnoughts will have maybe a little bit of problems getting across the board into the enemy's lines, but maybe, I guess, if you either reserve one of the Dreadnoughts. You know, I often talk about reserves. He's got 7 CP here. We could totally reserve a Dreadnought. Then we just have to get one across the board, essentially. And there's a lot of like Alpha Strike charges coming out here from all the units that are inside the drop pod. I guess the Terminators coming in, the Sanguinary Guard and the Vanguard Veterans can follow them up. I think it's a strong flesh tearers list, and he's leaned completely into melee, which I kind of like as well. I mean, we don't often see flesh tearers go anywhere in terms of shooting. It's usually all melee for flesh tearers. What you need to do, Chris, if you want to submit a list, is just Google Blood Angels Commander, I guess, YouTube. Click on the top search, obviously, and then click on community here. And in the latest community post, doesn't matter which one it is, just the first one, the one that's the top of the list, just click here in the comment section and just post your list. Look, you got here people, list submission, and I'll pick it up from there. There might be a new community post in a few days' time, but yeah, that's where you want to pick it up. And cool. Okay, yeah, interesting flesh tears list. Would I change anything in this? Yeah, I'd probably put 2 lightning claws into this squad, so that saves us 20 points. What could we do with those 20 points? I am a little bit sad the Sanguinary Guards are 5s. They just feel a little bit small for me. But 20 points obviously doesn't help there. I think probably, and then I would change these guys out for lightning claws. I think the only thing you could possibly do with those 20 points is you could drop some of these so these guys, 35 points. They're like 28 points per model. I'm wondering if you could drop. Are they? What is 135 divided by 5? I feel like it can't be 28 because it's an odd number. 27. Okay. So if you've got 20 points plus 27 3 times, yeah, you're like you're 14 points shy. Well, the list was 199, wasn't it? Yeah, so plus the 1 extra you've got to spare. So you're 13 points shy of being able to include a 5-man death company in your drop pod as well. So you could run like 2 veterans, the champion, Seth, and a 5-man death company. And that sounds really attractive, but I don't know how you could get there. Because, yeah, there's like nothing you could drop. I mean, I suppose the sergeant over here could drop his Thunderhammer, but I mean, it's nice to have a good number of Thunderhammers in the list. It's a pity. That would have been pretty interesting. Just because the Death Company are going to get so many attacks. But yeah, I think if this was me, the only change I would make is I'd drop 2 Thunderhammer Terminators, I'd put Lightning Claws on 2 of them, I'd take those 20 points, I would put a Thunderhammer on the Sergeant here, switch all these out for Lightning Claws, and then you've got like 8 points. I don't know what I would do with those 8 points. Maybe give like your Assault Intercessor Sergeant a Power Fist, or can Ironclads take Hunter Killer Missiles? I actually don't know. You could take a Hunter Killer Missile in your Ironclad, why not, right? Something like that. I've dropped the Assault Launchers from the Ironclads, so you could possibly do it. Oh yeah, because Ironclads, the Assault Launchers cost like 5 points. I actually think the Assault Launchers on the Ironclads, I should have said that when I was going through it, Grimm. And thanks for coming into chat. It's always nice when people's lists that we're looking at come into chat. I think the Assault Launchers are kind of a trap, right? Because you kind of have to pay 1 CP if you want to use the stratagem. But like, are they really going to be able to do like much against the Ironclad? Like, really, you're paying like 1 CP to maybe do like a couple of mortal wounds, and the Ironclad's going to just stomp on anything it gets into combat with, right? So it's like the Assault Launchers and the Ironclads kind of feel worthless. You could swap out 1 squad of Sanguinary Guard for the 5-man Death Company, use leftover points to bump the other Sanguinary Guard up to more than 5 men. That is interesting as well, actually, because I do think that, like, I've run 6-man Sanguinary Guard, good evening Odds, and there's too many times when the 6-man just bounce off the enemy, or, like, if you're playing into Death Guard and they're -1 damage, it's just horrific. Like, So if you can drop the 2 assault launchers, you drop those 2 things, that gives you 30 points. You drop 3 of those guys, that was 81 points, so that is 111 points. You take the extra 1 point you have there, so then you can include the 5-man death company, you just need to find 3 more points. What you could do, I guess, is you could just make one of these guys run a chainsword. Because you'd be replacing... How many attacks do these guys get on the charge? You know, like... Company veterans get 2 attacks, so it would be 3 on the charge, and it's turn 1, so it would just be 3. Whereas, like, so you would give up maybe like you would give up 10 power axe attacks, but you would gain 25 chainsword attacks. And based on the fact that you've got +1 to wound, yeah, the chainswords are slightly less AP, but you are flesh tearers, you are exploding 6s for additional AP. If you really need, you can flesh tearers use the red thirst stratagem. I pop hurricane bolters in the ironclad for 5 points. There is no difference life RPG, but if you do have 2 close combat weapons in the ironclad, you can reroll your 1s for hits, which I think is really powerful in a big close combat model like that. The only other thing I was going to say, actually, about this list is there anyone that could take quake bolts? You know, like if we go back to this company veteran squad at the very start, and we were saying that we actually need to get 3 points back here to fill in the death company, right? What if the sergeant for the company veterans has a bolt gun? Can he run a bolt gun or a bolt pistol? I know he could run a bolt pistol. I'm pretty sure he could run a bolt gun. Like, what are the company veterans? Yeah. So they can replace their... any number can replace their pistol with a melee weapon or a storm shield. Yeah. So run your company veteran sergeant with a bolt gun and a storm shield and give him quake bolts, right? I think you might be reading Wrecker wrong. Oh, right, you equip with the ironclad combat weapon. Oh, sure. But the ironclad combat weapon isn't the best. Like, you want to have the chain fist, right? The ironclad combat weapon is quite inferior, probably, if you math this out. So you either want you really want the chain fist. The seismic hammer isn't that better. I feel like you want the chain fist, so you need to have the combat weapon on there so you can reroll all the hits with the chain fist. Yeah, so alright. It's got very confusing, Grimm, but what you need to do is drop your 2 assault launchers, switch out 2 Terminators to have lightning claws, drop 3 company veterans, drop the power axe on the sergeant and replace it with a bolt gun. That gives you the 115 points to add the 5-man death company that you will run with all chainswords and bolt pistols that will be in the drop pod as well. You will then pay 1 CP to give this company veteran sergeant quake bolts, which means that when you arrive from your drop pod, you make a single shot with his bolt gun at the model you're charging, and if a hit is scored, and I'd probably even pay a 1 CP to reroll that hit. So you're trying to make a single hit on a 3. If you make the hit, then you get +1 to all the other attacks that those units do in combat. So you get 25 chainsword attacks that are now hitting on 2s. You get all Gabriel Seth's attacks that are now... Well, I guess he's hitting on 2s anyway. But your other veteran is hitting on 2s. Your company champion... Do you know what? You might not need the quake bolts. But, I mean, if you then maybe you could just go chainsword on here. I guess it depends on how much value you think all those chainsword attacks will get with +1 to hit. It's probably going to score you like 5 extra chainsword hits in turn 1. So it could be pretty nice. I use quake bolts in all my lists at the moment. I like it. I suppose it really depends on the size of squads and how you're going to be able to use it throughout the game. You know, another thing you could definitely do is... I was going to say, you could put it on another sergeant somewhere as well, like... They can make shots throughout the game and buff other units, but One thing that's interesting that not many people think of is if you do use Quake Bolts on the target that the Terminator is going to attack. So the Terminators are normally -1 to hit, right? Because they're Thunderhammers. So the Quake Bolts will cancel out the -1 to hit. So then if you pay 1 CP to give them Fury of the First, you actually end up with Thunderhammers in a Terminator squad that can hit on 2s. And I guess you can do that with Death Company with hammers as well, but it's just something to be aware of. How do you feel about 2 5-man Death Company with 2 hammers each? I don't like Death Company with hammers because they're so damn expensive in terms of, like, 37 points, even with the nerf of their points down to like 20, I think is it 38 points per model? They're only 5 points cheaper than a Terminator with a Thunderhammer, and the Terminator basically has like a 0-up save and a 4-up invuln. Yeah, the Death Company are more mobile. I mean, I guess it depends on how you want to play Death Company. If you want to go full Alpha Strike Death Company, then yeah, I actually kind of like the idea of just 2 hammers for 145 points. But, okay, let's have a think about scoring on this list. And it is a Flesh Tears list, so it's pretty cool. We don't often get too many Flesh Tears lists, so I'm just going to put FT in here so that if anyone watching back knows it's Flesh Tears. Troop Choices is very good, I like them. I'm going to give you 8.5. Anti-Horde, we don't have a ton of firepower here, but we do have a turn 1 charge with like a lot of attacks coming out here, even more so if we include the Death Company. So I think I will go for like an 8. 3 damage weapons on this list is probably like, we've got like 2 here. Company Veteran gives us 3, the 2 Ironclads give us sort of 5. We've got 5 more Thunderhammers here, that gives us sort of 10, then 2 Infernal Pistols and a Thunderhammer. So it's like 13 3 damage or more weapons, so that's pretty good. So I think it's like a 9. I don't overly like Sanguinary Guard squads of 5. I guess I'd probably reserve one of the Dreadnoughts because you need to get it into melee. They are melee Dreadnoughts. So I think if you reserve one of the Dreadnoughts, I'll probably give you like a 9.5. If you're not going to do that, I'll probably give you a 9 because there's a risk that Dreadnoughts can't get across the board. Yeah, Terminators can't Forlorn Fury. I know that. I haven't run Death Company and Forlorn Fury pretty much since I dropped my Sanguinary Priest in August or something. Can someone explain the 0-up save for Terminators? You get plus, so they're on a... Terminators have a 2+ save. They carry a Storm Shield that gives them +1, so it's a 1+ save. Then they go in cover, so it becomes a 0+ save. Which means if you get hit by -2 in cover with a Terminator with a Storm Shield, you will still save on a 2. Which I proved this week is actually legitimately good. Like, Andrew's whole Knight army was designed around -2 AP, and I just had Terminators in cover that were just absorbing so much firepower because they're still just saving on 2s at -2. Nice. And that's one reason that I kind of like them more than Blade Guard Veterans at the moment. The 0-up save and cover is nice. I mean, I know some armies can ignore cover, but I mean, it is what it is. Alright, Grimm, you're definitely reserving an Ironclad. Nice. Mobility-wise, this list's pretty darn mobile. I like that there's 2 squads of Incursors in there. Assault Intercessors are kind of your only thing that's not going to be that mobile, so I'd say like an 8.5. This is actually one of the strongest Flesh Tears lists that we've seen, I think. And it kind of... You know, you're not confused in any way. You know what you want to do. You want to be in their face. You want to be hitting them as early as possible. And that's kind of exactly what this list is going to do. We don't have the ability to fight last, but I mean, we've got so many charges early in the game that might not be as important, but I will take half a point off that. You don't have denies. You do have a good number of units for actions. Did have 13 or more 3 damage weapons. We are starting on 7 CP, and I guess we've got some options there where we could include Quake Bolts or something like that as well and still be okay. I think 6 CP is okay to start on. Protection against mortal wounds, I guess we get some of that in our Sanguinary Priest as well. So probably like, I was going to say like an 8.5 here, but I'm going to go 8.75. It's like right between 8.5 and 9. You know, like we're gonna go 8.5. But yeah, I mean this list is right up there. This is a really good list, Grimm. This is one of the strongest Flash Terror lists I think we've seen, possibly. And I think I would be more scared if we tweaked this and got the Death Company in to the drop pod as well. And also, if you can't get if you don't want to take the Death Company or you don't agree with that, maybe you want to try and find some points to make your Sanguinary Guard bigger. That would be valid as well. I really think Lightning Claws are getting better than the Power Axes. What's the thought behind the Power Axes? Oh, the company champion has the ability to make... Oh, of course he does. He has the ability to fight first or something. I forget. I haven't used company champion in a while, actually. Yeah, what's the thought behind the Power Axes? That's the one question I have. At the start of the fight phase, this model... Yeah, okay, so he can fight first. And then he has the big heroic intervention as well, so that's nice. Yeah, if he's protected by a Death Company and some company champion veterans, he's going to be in a good position. So, cool list. Thanks for the submission, Grimm. Definitely a cool list. I don't think you need to particularly prove that a 0-up save is good. It's a 0-up save. Yeah, well, fair enough. I felt very happy when Andrew's whole army was shooting at my Terminators and I was just rolling 2s for days, you know? It felt nice. I think he did kill one of them, but I mean, I think he shot like 30-odd shots in or something. I run Power Axe, Infernal Pistol, Death Company models. The extra strength is good versus Gravis. Is the extra strength good compared to... Like, I use any dice a lot, right? If you guys don't use any dice, it's a great little site that you can do stuff, right? So if we roll... Let's take your example of fighting against Gravis, right? And let's just say it's like 5 guys with Power Axes, Highland Phoenix, and let's make it simple. Let's say it's 15 attacks, right? So if you're attacking Gravis, which is strength 4 with +1 to wound, so you wound on 4s, so you're re-rolling 1s, 2s, and 3s. Yeah? And you would need a 4 to wound, right? So if you're wounding on 4s, re-rolling 1s, 2, and 3s, you have a 75% chance to wound. I think that's my daughter just woken up. Give me a minute. I might have to run AFK for a second here. We'll see. Whereas if you're just rolling a d6 and you're wounding on 3s, you actually need 66.6% chance to wound. So Lightning Claws are actually more reliable for Strength 4 models with +1 to wound on the charge. Lightning Claws are more reliable, and another thing about Lightning Claws is you actually get an extra attack. So in your case, you got 15 attacks, wounding 66% of the time, so you get 10 hits. Whereas if it was Lightning Claws, you've actually got 20 attacks, so you actually wound 15 times. You actually make 5 more wounds with Lightning Claws against the Power Axes, and they're both -2 AP. So... Oh, sorry, the axes are +2 strength. Okay, but... Even on the +2 strength, then, I still end up making more wounds because I get an additional attack with Lightning Claw. So the Lightning Claw is actually better than the Power Axe in both situations there, right? Yeah, Death Company can't get Lightning Claws, but like if you're running it on a veteran or something, the Lightning Claw is going to be better. Okay. Worth pointing that out, though, I guess. Alright, let's look at list 3 for tonight, and it's by Lucky Jim 37. And Lucky Jim's been a member for a while, so here, I think this might be his first list. Cool. Okay, a Lieutenant in Reaver armor. We never see this model. I actually gonna have to look at his data sheet because we never see him. We close some of these tabs. Lieutenant in Reaver armor. What does he have? He's got the General Lieutenant Reaver rule. He's got an aura of -2 leadership within 3. And yeah, I mean, you can include a second lieutenant. Mastercrafted pistol. Okay, and a combat knife. Kind of an average character here, I guess. Primaris Chapter Master, who is a champion of humanity, and he has the Warlord, Heavy Bolt Pistol, Mastercrafted Power Sword, Relic Shield. Champion of Humanity is a strange one. It's like reroll hits and wounds against characters, I believe. Again, it's not something we see all that often. So my thought is possibly... You're more than welcome, Grimm. Thank you as well for becoming a member of the channel. I really appreciate it. Have you got access to the members only room in Discord, Grimm? Or maybe you're not a big Discord guy, but I'm not sure. I mean, sometimes people's names on Discord are different from what they are on YouTube and stuff. Alright, it's like if you're within engagement range of enemy characters, you add 1 to the Warlord's attacks, and each time this Warlord makes a reroll a hit against a character, reroll the hit. Add 1 to the hit and 1 to the wound. I don't think this is particularly useful. I think you're better off taking Gift of Foresight here, 100%. Because Gift of Foresight is going to let you reroll those key hits and wounds anyway, and it's also going to get you reroll your armor save. So I think Gift of Foresight is just a better choice than Champion of Humanity. Well, you should be able to get access. What you need to do is if you go into your Discord settings and like attach your YouTube account to Discord, members only room will appear in our Discord. And I'm trying to be in the members only Discord like every day, I guess. Harry says that the Reaver Sergeant also gets the Terror Troops. Gets the Terror Troops stratagem, which is like you can do even more EP and you can turn off actions. Okay, and you can turn off OBSEC. I forget about that. We don't see that all that often. I have seen this once in a GT, but like it's kind of few and far between. So I guess that's something that we need to keep an eye out as well. Thanks for pointing that out, Harry. And thanks for watching, Jones. I appreciate it. Good night. Alright, so Assault Intercessors and Cursors, Infiltrators and Intercessors. So 4 units of troops. Maybe 1 too many. I mean, typically the way I see troops are that they're called troops for a reason, and elites are kind of called elites for a reason, and that their elites are just going to be better at killing things than troops. So do you need 4 units of troops just because of OBSEC at any point? I think if you're worried about OBSEC, I'd give your Warlord what's the thing called again? Rights of War. You can give him a second Warlord trait if you want. That's cost you 1 CP. You can give him OBSEC and a bubble around him. You are starting on 12 CP here, so yeah, you could totally do that very cheaply and easily, and that would be more effective probably than running the 4 squads of troops. That would be my opinion. Yeah, I think you're right as well. I think the Lieutenant Reaver is very situational. I think he can work. And I mean, you could, if you gave him like the Visage of Death, so like he turns off OBSEC. Do you know what? You probably want to give the Lieutenant actually Rights of War, so he grants OBSEC, and then you can turn off OBSEC. That would probably be the way to do it here. And then probably take 100 points. I'd probably drop your Intercessor squad with the regular bolt rifles. I feel like that's the weakest of the choices there. And take those 100 points and let's see if we can add them to your elites in any way, shape or form. So he's got a Death Company, and it's 2 Thunderhammers, 1 Power Fist, Bolter and Chainsword, but this has gone down 10 points. So this is just 155 points now. So now if we delete this as well, you would have 110 points. We have an Ironclad Dreadnought with the Chain Fist, the Meltagun, and the Combat Weapon, which is the correct loadout, if we agree. It would be better if this was a Heavy Flamer, because it just gives them a little bit of charge protection, but it's kind of irrelevant, I guess. Like, not too many enemies are going to be just charging an Ironclad Dreadnought, I guess, unless it's some sort of big bad, and at that point you're probably not going to kill it anyway. We then have a Primaris Apothecary with the Chief Apothecary and the Vox Spiritum. I believe he's taken the Vox Spiritum because it's gonna increase the aura. Adds 3 inches to the range of aura abilities. Okay, and then because the Apothecary has the Narcium, basically, he's improved the 6-up shrug for the Apothecary to 6 inches, and it is a Primaris Apothecary. and he is the chief apothecary as well. Excuse me. Is that something you can do? Is that valid? I think it looks valid. So basically, it just means that when any unit within 6 inches, biker infantry loses a wound on a 6-up, that isn't lost. It's a little sad that our Sanguinary Priest can't do that, because that's kind of cool, right? I wouldn't run the Relic Pistol. I don't think it's worth it. We then have a 4-man Sanguinary Guard, and here, this is a problem, right? Like, 4-man Sanguinary Guard are going to do very little. So we potentially had 110 points. That is 3 more Sanguinary Guard. I would 100% make that a 7-man squad of Sanguinary Guard. I don't think a 4-man Sanguinary Guard is going to cut it. There's far too many times they'll jump into the enemy, fight, not kill enough, and then just get killed. So drop the intercessors, get this into a 7-man Sanguinary Guard, 100%. We have a squad of scouts with sniper rifles, and I mean, they're okay. We don't see scouts as much now as we used to see them. I think they're okay. I mean, I haven't really looked at them in ages, but like sniper rifles are like strength 4 -1 or something. Oh shit. Scouts are strength 4 -1, yeah. Heavy 1. So you get 5 attacks out of the squad. 6s on the wound roll are 1 mortal wound. So yeah, I mean, I feel like they're just weaker versions of Eliminators, honestly. I guess the scouts are probably running camo cloaks, are they? Yeah, 4 camo cloaks. So at least they get a 2-up save and cover, right? But they are just 1 wound. Scouts, if you're going to take a way to transport scouts, maybe I could get on board with them. But if they're just if they're just sniper scouts, I don't think they're that good right now. We then have a squad of Outriders, sorry. And I think Outriders were bad before. Now I feel like they're kind of trashy, because the point behind them before was potentially to do stuff like actions and engage in all fronts, and they made it that, like, if you lose a single model, they can't do engage in all fronts anymore. They also aren't going to be that effective in actions because they aren't troops, and they are a small squad as well. So I really don't rate Outriders at the moment. 3 Outriders cost the same as 5 Vanguard veterans with Storm Shields and Lightning Claws. And I think that's a much better choice. I actually did a video just on that. You could probably find it like Outriders versus Lightning Claw Van Vets BA Commander. Weird. This is my video on a different website. What the hell? And it's got comments on it, everything? Okay, this is my video on a completely different website, not on YouTube. Please, if you ever see this, click the watch on YouTube button, because I ain't getting any revenue if it's been watched on this other website. But okay. Well, I'm in my old house here. I'm looking very ghetto. But yeah, I did a whole video on this. Outriders versus Vanguard veterans. And I'm sure I've got like Math Hammer in comparison in here. Yeah. And like Outriders just get trashed. Back then, Vanguard veterans I think were slightly cheaper in points. But nowadays, I guess Outriders, even with the Vanguard veterans going up 10 points, I still rate them highly over Outriders. Do you think they could buff Outriders to allow them to take them in 6 bike teams? That would help them, Jaegerbomb. That would really help them. I think the size of the unit is the problem, but also I think that they have no weapon options, which is also a problem. Like, if the Sergeant could rock a Thunderhammer, then maybe they start getting more exciting, because they do get those bonus attacks when they charge, right? Which would be pretty nice if you had a Thunderhammer. And also, they used to be 45. Well, I think when they first released Outriders, they were 40 points a model. Then they went to 45. Then they went to 50. And I didn't think they were good when they went up to 45 points a model. I'll be honest with you, I missed the gloves. I mean, I've got them. I think I've got them on the windowsill here. I feel like I've got them somewhere. Yeah, look, I've got them somewhere. Maybe we'll wear the gloves again. I don't know if I miss. Do you know what? I do sometimes miss the gloves a little bit myself, but it's not. At least it's not as cold. It's a testament to the quality of the video if people are copying it. Yeah, I mean that's great. I love people stealing my work, but that's fine. What even was that website? What was it called? Like. Outriders.video.tm. What the fuck is video.tm and why are they stealing my content? Oh, I guess they're stealing lots of people's content. Okay. Random. Alright, and then drop pod. The drop pod in this list confuses me. What's going in the drop pod here? He doesn't have any troops that can actually go in the drop pod. The Death Company have jump packs, so they can't go in. The Sangre Guard have jump packs. I guess the Scouts could go in the drop pod? But, I mean, Scouts have concealed positions, right? So they can deploy anywhere they fucking want. So they don't need... Yeah, and the Scouts have concealed positions and outflank. I actually didn't realise they had outflank as well. Okay. I mean, maybe that makes them a little bit less shit. If you just wanted to score relentless assault easily, then Scouts, I guess. When we get some fine Primaris jump pack melee units, they will be the same as Outriders and have no weapon options. Yeah, that's... Why? You make a good point, Sane, but like, why? Why do the new units have to have no weapon options, right? Like, it just sucks. I guess the reason almost is like they release the new box and the sprues are kind of like baked in without too many weapon options, and then they decide down the line. But like, I've got Indomitus sitting behind me on this shelf here. The big Indomitus box there is like, if I move the microphone, you'll see it, right? And in that Indomitus box, I think I have like 20 assault intercessors, because I did some trades and stuff, and it's like I was gonna change them into Death Company assault intercessors. I was gonna like cut their shoulder pads off and put on Death Company helmets and shoulder pads, and I was all excited, but it's like, when the frick are we getting jump pack Death Company that are Primaris and actually have a good number of weapon options? Because the weapon options is the thing that annoys me. The staticness of the weapon options on the Primaris troops, it's not boring, but like, it removes some personalization, right? And I guess that's why some people cling on to the fact that they love tactical squads, because at least in tactical squads you could be like, yeah, you know what, I want a heavy weapon, or I want a combi weapon. Whereas like with as good as infiltrators and incursors and stuff are, you get no options. You know, it's like you know, why couldn't an intercessor sergeant have a power sword or a lightning claw or something like that? Nearly all other armies get weapon options except Thousand Sons. Yeah, Thousand Sons don't get that much, right? They hope they don't limit jump packs to just 3 Marines. Let them be 6. They better not release 3 Marine bullshit or anything like that. What we really need, I think, is -1 damage Sangre Guard Primaris. That's what I would like to see. But I'm honestly surprised we haven't seen jump pack Primaris Marines by now. There is a rumour that there's a new Space Marine Codex in the work for 2022, and I've heard from multiple sources that there's a rumour, so if I get any information on that, I will share it as soon as I can. And I am approaching, I think I said this on the stream last night, I am approaching 10,000 subscribers, and on 10,000 subscribers, I believe Games Workshop might speak to me. So, yeah, maybe they'll speak to me and we can talk about getting a preview of any new stuff that's coming. So this is a Lucky Jim's list seems okay. I don't like Outriders. I've said why. I've done videos on them. I don't like 4 troop choices. I think you need a 7-man Sangre Guard. I've said why as well. I think Scout Snipers are probably just weaker versions of Eliminators. If you have the points or the money, I guess I would get Eliminators. The Ironclad Dreadnought is fine. The Death Company did go down in 10 points. I would change out Champion of Humanity for Gift of Foresight for sure. I think I would give this Lieutenant and Reaver armor some... I'd give him a Warlord trait or a Relic or something. The one that stands out probably is Rights of War. I was meant to bring balance to the rules, not bloat. Yeah, I mean, the new Gravis captain. Yeah, the Gravis fighting styles, I guess, is maybe the first taste of the new Marine stuff. And I like the Gravis fighting styles to a sense, but at the same time, like, they're being very cagey, right? Like, it was like, oh, you can't use the Gravis fighting styles with any relic weapons or anything like that, and it's like... There's something... I think they're worried about making Space Marines too powerful, but in reality, it just means they keep making Space Marines more mediocre. What was the highest finish of a Marine player of any Marine faction at LVO? Does anyone know? Like, Iron Hands, I think Black Templars were probably in the best spot Marines-wise. So, like, what was the highest finish of a Marine player at the LVO? And then what would also be interesting is to know what the Blood Angels win percentage was at the LVO as well. I guess we need to have somebody to go and work that out, but I'm guessing it's probably not great. So, anyway, yeah, this list... I'd say it's average. If you're trying to be competitive, it's kind of average. I'm going to do some scoring on it, and I think that the troops as it stands is probably like... Your OBSEC is probably really good right now, but I don't think it needs to be quite as good as this. Anti-Horde, I think, is quite weak. Really doesn't bring much firepower to this list at all, so probably like a 6.5 in the Anti-Horde. 3 damage weapons then, we have... we have couple in the Dreadnought, couple in the Death Company. That's it. So 4 3 damage weapons, which to me feels like way too little. And we also have a couple of like really non-competitive units. I would say Scout Sniper Rifles, Outriders. Also mentioned there's too many troops here in this list, I think. And the drop pod doesn't make a whole heap of sense because I don't know what you'd be dropping in. So maybe like a 7.5. Mobility is reasonable. But both your characters are kind of non-mobile as well, so it's probably like a 6.5 here as well. And we don't have Fight Last, we don't have Denies. I mean, we do have plenty of units for actions, we don't have enough 3 damage weapons, we do have plenty CP, and we do have a little bit of protection against mortals, so it's probably like 3 points off. So there's definitely a bit of work to be done in this list. Dark Angel's got 14th, Blood Angel's got 129. Thank you for pointing that out, Sanguinary. I think the new Melee Dreadnought will be fun. Yeah, I don't know too much about the new Melee Dreadnought. Thank you so much for subscribing. I appreciate that. 10 more to get to 9,000 subscribers now. That's what I need. 10 more subscribers. Very exciting. Very, very exciting. Yeah, I can show you my little live count. Look at that. 9,000 subscribers for the 9th Legion. I do have two things that I'm going to give away on my painting competition. The Blood Angels win rate was reportedly 41%, so it was even lower than it was previously because we were at 45% win rate before. So now we're at a 41%. if you get some time in the stream, well, I'm finishing the stream in a minute. Yeah, I can check the members only channel. But yeah, so I guess tonight's big winner, I think, is Grimm's list, which I think is arguably one of the strongest Flesh Tearers lists we've seen here. So that's very cool. And I think Lucky Jim's needs a little bit of work to get some more of the competitive stuff in. And I think Brad's list was on the right track. A bit of work to get Brad going, and he did say he was new. So thanks again, everybody that watched the stream tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about this message that was in the members room, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the Tau list I'm playing tomorrow night on the channel. But that is kind of us wrapped up with the scores for tonight. So 43, definitely the highest list. We'll be back obviously next Sunday night. And next Sunday the lists are I've got them here. We've got Duster, we've got Will Probert, and we've got Low Descent for next week. Right. What can we say? Thank you for uniting all the Blood Angels players and bringing back folk to Warhammer 40k. Here's a little army parade thing I fully painted in the last 9.5 months since I got back into 40k. Mostly because of your streams. It's 3,854 points without chapter command options. The whole Blood Angels army with my stuff is about 7,500 points. So you've basically painted in 9.5 months what has taken me about 3 years to paint, Camille. So good on you. Dark Angels with permanent transhumor Terminators had 43% win rates, and Templars with an army-wide 5+, and mini transhuman had 42%. Marines are struggling. Best Marine chapter had 49%, which is a bit sad. Thank you for sharing, Camille. True Redemptors are Whirlwind. I see a couple of characters on bikes. Dreadnought, can I open this larger? Yeah, I can. Death Company, do you know what? There's not enough Sanguinary Guard here. This needs more Sanguinary Guard. I only count about 8. Vanguard Veterans with Lightning Claws. Excuse me. I think your next models that you need to get. I was going to say you've got the Terminators in here as well. I was going to say Thunderhammer Terminators. I don't know what you need to get then next. Maybe a Leviathan Dreadnought. Just because Leviathans are cool, right? Yeah, oh, and while I was in the members room, let me have a quick look at this Tau. I already have 25 Sanguinary Guard. Both Iron Hands and Deathwatch had 49%. Okay. Yeah, so tomorrow night then on the channel we are fighting a Tau list that consists of 3 Storm Surges, a new Valar, a Commander in a Crisis Battlesuit, a Strike Team. Is that his only OBSEC? 4 Crisis Suits, another 4 Crisis Suits, and then 2 squads of Piranhas. If that's his only OBSEC, maybe we can do some OBSEC shenanigans against him. Yeah, so that's what's coming up tomorrow night. That'll be live at 7:30. I'm going to set the stream up right after I get done here. So hopefully we'll catch some of you guys tomorrow night. And thanks again for watching tonight. I really appreciate it. Borkin is the one that can you make CP to make one weapon remove invulnerable saves, right? Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen the new Tau book, unfortunately. Same. I don't buy all the codexes. I probably don't have time to keep up with all of them. So, I learn from playing, I guess. So it'll be an interesting / difficult game tomorrow, I'm sure. The 3 Storm Surges, I guess, are going to be a huge problem. Like, I'm just going to have to try and keep line of sight from all of them, which is just going to be near impossible. But from what I understand, their marker lights now basically make them all 3s to hit. The Storm Surges can deploy anchors as well. I think that gives them another +1 to hit. So I guess they're pretty much guaranteed to hit on 3s. I think this Pulse Blast Cannon is this the gun that can do 12 damage a shot or something? I'm going to have to reserve my Dreadnoughts, I think. And then, 4 squad Crisis Suits are going to be more difficult to kill now. maybe his lack of obsec is going to hurt him a little bit. Yeah. So I guess we'll see tomorrow night. We will see. Jaegerbomb says, do a video on the wish list for Space Marines 2.0 Codex. Also, love of the Angel and Baal. Don't lose to the Tau. They don't even do melee. Yeah, I mean, getting into melee is going to be the problem. And don't forget the Tau has a no invulnerable save strat now. Yeah, that's gonna wreck me. Thank you so much for the $5, Jaegerbomb. It's much appreciated. A wish list for 2.0 Space Marines. I could do a video on that. I guess we could maybe that's a question I should ask in the community chat channel on YouTube and see what everybody thinks, and then compile them into video. I don't know how much. I don't know if Games Workshop would listen to me at all. So I guess there's that. But yeah, it might be a long video. So, alright guys, have a great evening. Thank you for being here. I hope you enjoyed the show. I'll be back at 7:30 tomorrow for a live battle report. It will be against Tau. And infantry can't get overwatched when charging through walls yet. Unless they have indirect fire, I believe, Jaegerbomb. If he has indirect fire, he is allowed to overwatch me even if I'm from a concealed position, I guess. Assault Marines as troops again. Assault Marines as troops would that would be really nice in terms of like adding some flexibilities to troops, Pedroig, but I don't know if we're going to see that. I would like to see it, but I don't know if we will see it. Alright guys, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thanks again for watching. See you tomorrow night. Hopefully I won't get murdered by the Tau, but we will see. Alright, peace. Good night.